Hey guys, welcome back to Mind Keys. What's up? So my name is Dave. I'm a coach, I'm a hypnotherapist, and I mostly serve people around transforming, self-actualizing, getting unstuck, and kind of unpatterning old patterns and repatterning new patterns in the unconscious mind so that people kind of naturally transform and change. It's kind of mainly what I do. I love it. I love what I do. And this channel is largely about that and about a dialogue around that and kind of correlated topics to that about self-actualization, about personal awakening, about personal transformation and growth. And that's what I love to do. But it's dawned on me recently that I need to kind of hold off from the bigger points in that conversation because obviously the world is changing around us rapidly and it's a frightening time in the world for a lot of us. And so I wanted to do something practical. I realized a while back that the COVID-19 coronavirus thing is happening and is going to spread worldwide. And I realized that there are little things I can do here in terms of mental health, in terms of reprogramming ourselves, that I can do to support and serve you. So what I want to do with this video is something a little different from most of my content in the sense that what I want to do is to give you a free, guided personal development set of exercises here to personally transform and rewire your unconscious mind to stop touching your face. It's kind of funny. I was kind of wondering whether or not I should even pursue making this video because we're at a point now where it might be too late, where the virus has really spread. And I was like, do I need to even create that? Would it even be something people would need or want? And so I kind of put out a quick feeler on Facebook and I got enough yeses, including a great comment from a friend of mine where she had mentioned that now that she knows that you can't touch your face, it's made it harder for her. Like she never used to want to touch her face so much, but now that she's self-aware that she can't, it's kind of created this weird pressure to want to do so. So I figured I would take a little time here and create a video for you. So we're going to go ahead and be doing exercises in the video where you're going to close your eyes, you're going to go inwards, and you're going to discover for yourself what is it that you need to do to transform and reprogram your unconscious mind and have communication with your unconscious mind to behave in a different way. And that different way is going to be to stop touching your face. So let's go ahead and get into it here and get on with the exercise. All right, so let's do it. And one quick thing before we go ahead and get into it, if you like this kind of content, please consider subscribing. Go ahead and click the subscribe button below. And if this works for you, please let me know. Comment. If it doesn't work for you, comment as well. I'd love to get some feedback from you to know what worked and what didn't work for you about this process I'm going to take you through. And also, I want you to know that I'm making a course right now. I'll be filming it over the next few days on how to manage your stress, your state, and your emotions in a time of emergency like this. So if you need emotional support or you need to be able to manage yourself in order to be able to hold it together for your friends, for your family, for your loved ones, or know how to manage your own emotions and shift and clear out old traumas or let go of anxiety, any of that kind of stuff, please watch the space because I'll have a new course for you to watch and download and go through the exercises very soon. It's going to be super affordable. So if that's something you might like or need at this time, please consider subscribing and just kind of following the content here because there's way more of it to come. So what if I told you that habits are strangely very easy to change? As we all know, habits typically tend to be one of the strongest forces in our lives, right? Everybody has habits that kind of control the way we live our lives. Whether those are healthy habits or unhealthy habits, we all have a series and a set of habits that largely dictate our quality of life. And it's kind of cool that I'm showing you this because in a certain way, this really gets right at the heart of personal growth and personal change, in the sense that most of what our lives are is composed of habits. And so it's interesting to consider that most of us experience habits in this way of, struggle, right? In this way of it being something that's so hard to change or so resilient about us or took so much effort in order to build into ourselves. And I would argue that that's typically because we don't necessarily know how to undo a habit and how to rewrite a new habit into ourselves. In other words, we don't know kind of what the language of programming our own minds is. And since we don't know, we kind of have to go about it haphazardly and kind of go about it the hard way. And it takes longer to do it that way. So my hope, and what I know to be true, at least for myself and for my clients and people I've helped, is that it can change very quickly. And it's my hope that by the end of the video, you will be experiencing directly this change for yourself. So let's go ahead and get into it. But before we do, I want to just kind of, obviously remind you that habits do take repetition to really get wired in. So you might want to rewatch this video a couple times in order to kind of really anchor that in deeper and deeper until it really takes for you. You might want to just be persistent and patient and realize that it's going to take however long, 2 weeks, 21 days, whatever it is, in order for that habit to really fully sink in. But I noticed it changed right away, and I bet you can too. So let's go ahead and get into it. And before we start this, just a quick heads up that these will be eyes closed, internally oriented exercises. So you're probably going to want a little time, a little space to yourself to be able to close your eyes and go inside and go through these exercises for yourself. So if you're surrounded by people, or you need to be engaged and do things like cooking and driving, this is not the moment to be using this video. So this video is intended for personal use when you are in a safe, quiet place where you can kind of close your eyes, go inward, run these patterns, and see what changes for you. I'd like to also just kind of throw out there that what we're after here, what we're looking for, is what's called the difference that makes the difference. So obviously different people are wired up differently, and you might be wired up differently than I am, or differently than somebody else who gets a result from this video. And so what I want you to know up front is that there are all kinds of different factors we're going to look at here in order to find kind of the handle to grip, or the kind of button that makes the change for you. So if you're reprogramming yourself, it's going to take a little bit of patience or exploration to discover for yourself what it is that is the difference for you, that makes the difference, that's going to make this difference. So please understand and be patient if you try one thing or you try 3 things that I'm going to suggest in this video, and they don't work for you right away. It doesn't mean that this doesn't work or that it can't work for you. It just means you might need to play with it a little bit. We're talking about the internal workings of your own mind, and your mind is unique to you. So let's go ahead and just approach it from a playful spirit, from a curious, kind of open-minded kind of approach. Let's see what happens. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, great. So what I want you to do first is to go ahead and just take a deep breath in, exhale, just close your eyes. Go ahead and drop in your body right now. And I want you to just take a moment to remember the last time you caught yourself touching your face. And just remember, was it kind of an automatic thing where all of a sudden you're touching your face and then you just noticed and you're like, oops? Or was it like you had an urge, like an itch, was it your eyelid or your eye? Were you rubbing your eyes? Did you scratch your eyebrow? What was it that you did the last time? And I want you to just remember that. And as you remember that, I want you to notice a little bit about what it was that preemptively drove you to touch your face. Was it, like a sensation, like an itch? Or a need? Was it, did you hear some sort of self-talk, like you heard something stressful, you thought something stressful inside, and all of a sudden you touched your face in response to that? Was it some sort of a visual thing where you thought of an image, or you thought of a moment, or you thought of a picture, and and it made you want to touch your face? A friend of mine on Facebook commented on how now that she knows she can't, it's actually making it harder for her not to. In other words, the more that you shouldn't, it can almost drive this sense of needing to. And so we just want to kind of take stock here for a moment of what is it that kind of drove that impulse the last time you did. And as you notice that, just kind of flag that, because I want to tell you a little bit about what causes us to do things, and how our internal experience is constructed. So we have our five senses turned outwards, and those, are obviously sight, sound, touch, taste, smell, right? We also have those same senses turned inwards in what we call the representational system. So we represent the world internally through those same five senses turned inward. So we construct our internal reality with sight. So that would either be like, pictures, mental movies, that kind of a thing. Sound. So that might be things we've heard or recalled things that we've heard, or internal dialogue with ourselves. Or typically we'll have sensations. So that might be touch. So that would be some sort of kinesthetic bodily sensation. And these are often the top three components that create our internal experience. There is gustatory and there is olfactory as well, so, but those are kind of rare. It's rare for people to have scent memories unless they have like a strong, association with a particular smell. And, gustatory memories are kind of very rare. So anyway, so for most people, it's going to be a picture, a movie, a sound, a piece of spoken audio, or sensation. And so what I want you to do is just kind of notice in that memory you had of, what drove you to want to touch your face last time. What was it first? Was it a sensation first? Was it a picture of something you thought of? Was it some self-talk or something you heard outside, something you heard on the radio or heard on TV? What was it? What was it that drove you to have this kind of response, this automatic response? And you may not know right away, but we're just going to kind of plant the seed of this question for you to notice. Because as you notice more about your internal reality, then it becomes so much easier to change it. So hopefully you've got something there. Hopefully you have a memory. Hopefully you remember the last time you touched your face. Now, what I want you to do is we're going to use all three. We're going to use visual, auditory, and kinesthetic, because I don't know which one drives behavior for you. But remember what the difference is that it is for you. What is the difference that makes the difference is going to be unique to each person. So it might be the visual aspect that's strongest for you, or the auditory that's strongest for you, or the kinesthetic that's strongest for you. So we don't know, so we're going to use all three. So here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to take that memory, and I would like you to make it black and white and make it a still image. And I want you to push it out in your mind's eye further away from you. And any sensations of, itchiness or needing to touch your face or wanting to touch your face, all of that, all those kind of urgy body sensation type things, we're going to put those with that picture far off in the distance, okay? Now, I want you to think for a moment about the next time you want to touch your face. And imagine that as you go to touch your face, that there's almost like when you take two magnets and you push the poles so that they're pushing away from each other, and you have that kind of magnetic repellent sensation where there's kind of like thick air where it just feels so hard to bring the magnets together. They just want to push away. I want you to imagine your hand and your face having that experience. So every single time you try to go to touch your face, you feel this kind of thick air between your hand and your face, and it becomes so hard to move your hand all the way there and connect, where it becomes difficult, where it's like strangely you get to a certain distance and then your hand just won't go further. So I want you to imagine trying to touch your face, but you can't because there's this kind of magnetic thickness, and your hand can feel that magnetic repulsion, that kind of repelling away. Your hand doesn't want to touch your face. And at the same time, as you're doing that, I want you to imagine that there's like a flashing red light as your hand starts to get closer to your face. So whether you're trying to touch your eyebrow or rub your eyes or pick your nose or whatever it is you might do, I want you to imagine that as your hand starts to approach your face, that there's a flashing red light inside your head, and maybe even a warning noise going like this is like a severe warning, like don't do this. And if for you that sound doesn't work, maybe it could be like like a loud like intercom voice saying warning, do not touch face. Or it could be the sound of sirens, or whatever it would be for you that would create that sense of alert and that sense of fear and that sense of stopping in your tracks and stopping what you're doing. So I hope you have a good sound in mind for that. What would it be for you? And I want you to just rehearse this and see your hand moving towards your face, and then see that flashing red light, hear that noise, that alarm, that alert going off. There's alarm bells ringing, telling you not to touch your face. And then as you pull your hand away from your face, imagine them going away. Okay, now hopefully you've got that. Now, if you need to, pause the video at this point and practice it if you need to. But what I'd like you to do is imagine doing that 10 times in a row. You try to touch your face, you can't. You try to touch your face, you can't. You try to, etc., etc. Go ahead and just practice 10 times in a row the alarm, the flashing red light, the magnetic repulsion from touching your face. Okay, if you need to, go ahead and pause the video longer, but we're going to go ahead and add on to this. So with your eyes closed still, notice now, is it harder to touch your face? Does it feel more frightening? Does it feel less desirable to touch your face? So if so, then we're on the right track. If not, then go ahead and try to go through this process again and explore for you which is the most compelling piece. And if you're having a hard time with one of the pieces, if you're having a hard time with the visual, maybe try making a movie. If you're having a hard time with the auditory, maybe take longer to construct that sense of an alarm ringing inside your head. Whatever it is for you that is going to complete that communication to your unconscious mind that you want to stop touching your face immediately, go ahead and take time to create that, okay? So from here, now we have, every time you try to touch your face, we have the magnetic repulsion, we have the flashing red light, we have the loud blaring alarm telling you not to, right? So now I want you to go ahead and in your mind's eye, I want you to imagine a time in the future where you're want to touch your face, or you're about to touch your face. And I want you to almost make there are different ways you can do it, but imagine in your mind's eye like a whole collage of large pictures, whether it's a bunch of TVs surrounding you, or billboards surrounding you, or just a collage. Or, for some people it's easier if they go like flashcards sequentially, but I want you to move through maybe 20 to 40 different scenarios where in the future you might want to touch your face, and you see yourself in all these different pictures not touching your face, moving your hands away from your face, touching your face with the inside of your shirt, or using the inside of your elbow, or using, a safe tool to touch your face, scratch your nose with a, pencil, or whatever it is. I want you to see all these different pictures of you and make them big and make them close enough that you really get the message, that your unconscious mind really gets the message that, hey, there are all these different ways that we can not touch our face. There are all these other things we can do instead of touching our face in order to meet that need. And again, if you need to pause the video to take time to explore that, the idea is to construct, again, 20 to 40 different large images. And again, for some people, you might want to scan through like image after image after image after image sequentially, one in a row, where you see yourself in all these different situations. Maybe you're moving through a doorway somewhere and you're not touching the door handle, and you're walking out, using your hip to open the door, and all of a sudden you want to touch your face, but you don't. or et cetera, et cetera. Just the same as if you were, preparing, some food like some poultry or some fish, and your hands are messy and your hands are dirty, and all of a sudden you get an itch, on your face, and you don't, because your hands are covered in bacteria. It's that same idea. So go ahead and make 20 to 40 of those. And I'm going to assume you have them. And if you don't, feel free to pause the video. And then what you want to do is test. So let's go ahead and just now imagine that you want to touch your face, and then see what happens. And see what happens. And imagine yourself in a different scenario and you want to touch your face, and see what happens. See what happens. So if this is working, you should already be feeling like this aversion to touching your face. You should feel like you don't want to touch your face, or like that's a bad idea, and you should feel this kind of sense of avoidance. If this is not working, I'm going to offer you another technique here, another way of doing this. And one thing to say, so, we had that kind of series of billboards and large images of you not touching your face. I want you to imagine some of those in first person, maybe, so through your own eyes, and then some of those third person, like you're looking at yourself, as if you're watching yourself on a TV or on a movie or on a video screen, and imagine what it would look like to see yourself not touch your face from the outside. Okay, see if that changes things. Again, we're looking for what is the difference that makes the difference here. Okay, great. So I'm assuming you got something there. I'm assuming you got something out of it. But if you didn't, I want to give you one more technique here to see if this helps too. So this is a classic NLP technique. This is great for all kinds of immediate changes. It's called the swish pattern. And so go ahead and just kind of clear your mind for a moment. Clear your mind. And I want you, maybe you can open your eyes for a moment, just kind of shake it off for a sec, and then go ahead and close your eyes. And I want you to imagine again, like a moment in the future where you want to touch your face, right? And notice, is it first person? Is it third person? And what's making you want to touch your face? Is it a sensation? Is it something you heard? Is it a picture or an image in your head? What made you want to touch your face? And just notice that, and go ahead and whatever state it's in right now, I want you to make it like it's a third person movie that you're watching of yourself, right? So I want you to push it out in front of you just a little bit so that you're not inside it. You're not inside your own body. You're watching yourself on a movie screen or on a TV screen where you can see yourself. And then what I want you to do is we're going to imagine that far off in your mind's eye, in the bottom right hand corner, the size of maybe a postage stamp, way off in the distance, we're going to imagine a picture of you successfully avoiding touching your face. And I want you to zoom that picture from way over there all the way up front into your face, and it's going to smash through the movie. And it's going to turn the movie black and white. It's going to make it a still instead of a movie. So it's going to become a picture instead of a movie. And it's going to smash to bits, whether that's torn up to shreds like paper, like a photograph, or whether that's turning to dust and just like blasting through it like a wall. Whatever works for you works for you. But what I want you to do is go ahead and take that small image now in the right-hand corner of you avoiding touching your face. And I want you to boom, explode the picture of you trying to touch your face, and replace it with you not touching your face. And I want you to do that 10 times in a row. So you're going to go boom, 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 etc., 10 times. And I want you to end with this picture in front of you not touching your face, third person watching yourself successfully having not touched your face. Okay, great. So now that we've got that, I want you, if you need to pause the video to complete the exercise, please go ahead and do so. But I want you to just check in with yourself. So go ahead and just open your eyes. And now notice, like, when you think about touching your face, how does that thought feel? When you have an itch, on the side of your nose or your nostril or your eyebrow, do you want to touch your face? Does this still make you want to touch your face? Or is it now like that's an uncomfortable thing, or like you just can't quite touch your face? Like it just doesn't feel right to do that. And just notice how that feels, how that thought feels. And just imagine now what it would be like, for the rest of tonight or today or tomorrow or the next day or next week, that every time you go to touch your face, if you really need to, you don't use your hands, you use something else. You use the inside of your shirt, you use your elbow, you use a tool, you use something safe, and or you just don't do it. And just notice what it feels like to noticing yourself. Notice what it feels like to notice yourself not touching your face over and over, and how good it feels to be in control of that. Notice how that creates more of a sense of safety possibly for yourself, or more of a sense of maybe pride or dignity or just gratitude that you're able to make this change for yourself. And notice what it was. What was it for you? Because this is useful information to know. What was the difference that made the difference for you? Was it auditory? Was it visual? Was it kinesthetic? For a lot of us, it's different. Or was it the combination of all three? So I hope that helps. I hope that made the difference for you. And if it didn't, don't be despondent. Don't be bummed. I want you to know that it's okay. Some people, it takes repetition in order to create a change like this. For some people, there's another piece missing, or there might be resistance in the way. If there is, feel free to hit me up, ask me questions. You can email me, you can comment below with the video. You can hit me up, if you're a friend of mine on social media, you can hit me up that way. I'd be happy to answer questions. I'm happy to work with people one-on-one privately for this kind of stuff too. But hopefully, all things going right, this should have worked. So let me know if it did and if it didn't, and what you experienced. It'd be great to hear about it. And I hope this serves you well. I hope that you really look out for yourself and for your loved ones and take care of yourself. Do everything in your power that you possibly can to stay healthy, to stay strong, and to stay patient in this time of just absolute intensity and stress and overwhelm that everyone's going through. And to know that you're going to be okay. And to know that you're going to do what needs to be done in order to preserve your own well-being. So thank you so much for watching. Be well, take care, and I'll see you in the next video. All right, thanks.